Okay, good morning. So we're working through Shin Chav Vav. We're up to Seif Dalet. Shin Chav Vav Dalet. Lo yishtatef adam b'tzonein kol gufay. Person shouldn't pour water over his whole body v'yischamim and then connect hamadura and then warm up next to a fire. Because he's going to heat up the water that's on him. And it turns out that he's washing his whole body with warm water, which is a violation of the Issa. But he's okay to wash himself with cold. Once he himself has gone next to the fire, he feels warmer now. And then if he wants to pour cold water over himself, that would be okay. Now let's just do hay, and then we'll do the Mishnah Berurah. Yesh Oimrim shetzarich lizoher shelachamim yodov etzel haish. There are those who say you've got to be careful not to warm your hands next to a fire after you've washed, unless you dry them properly, because otherwise you're going to warm up the water. So let's take a look at the Mishnah Dalet. Nimtza kerechetz kol gufay. Zeh malashna Rambam. So that is from the Rambam. So we're not worried about the warming of the water per se. Because just warming up is not really. If you've taken a cold shower and then you stand next to a fire, it's not going to get. It's not going to be cooked. It's not going to get to Yatzaledis by. The concern is a rechitza concern. This is not called proper rechitza. Also, it's treated like water that was heated up before Shabbos. The issa the issa is on your whole body, like we said in the beginning. In the next sif, which we just spoke about, the dinay shava kerechetz b'chamin shehuchim b'Shabbos. They've got a din of that water is treated as, or the situation is treated as roichetz b'chamin, is washing with warm water shehuchim b'Shabbos that was heated up on Shabbos. To us afilu lirchetz bohen panav yodav raglov. There we prohibit even just washing your face, hands, and feet. Va'after stam chamin shehuchim b'Shabbos huchmu hamayim be'issa. Even though the stam water was heated up be'issa, hacha v'hacha binyanenu haluk lehoyel alamayim shem chimum rak shem hef shebalma. You're not really warming the water. You're just sort of lightly warming it. It's just sort of taking off the chill. Ve'ein lechalik b'zeh, therefore there's no chiluk. Ta'afidu mayim sherak hufshru b'Shabbos ve'ein hayat zeledis b'hen gam kein also lirchetz b'hen afidu eva echad, because there's no chiluk. Even water which has just lightly warmed up on Shabbos and doesn't get to Yatzaledis b'hen, is still also to wash afilu eva echad. Because at the end of the day the water doesn't get that hot. Okay, that's Daled and Hay. Say that. Let's go weiter. Vav. Also the tin al gabe bitnei kli sheyesh b'mayim chamin. Now this is a hot water bottle, right? So picture that. Also litin al gabe bitnei, to put it on your stomach. Kli, a vessel, sheyesh b'mayim cham, which has got hot water. Va'afilu b'chol, even during the week it's a problem. Sakona, she'epam she'im roischim, because sometimes the water is very hot. Avol mutzah lahachim beged v'litna al bitnei. You can warm a beged and put that on your stomach. That would be okay. So the question is, can you use a hot water bottle on Shabbos? The Olim does. The question is why. Let's take a look. Va'afilu b'chol. For kolshkein the also b'Shabbos, certainly will be also on Shabbos. Shema yishpechu alav, because maybe this boiling hot water will fall on you. V'nimtzu kerechetz b'Shabbos, and it's you violated the issa of it's now not. It's warm the water, and therefore you violated the issa of rechitza. Ken kos Rashi v'Haran ulefiza imachalin b'kli sagur. If, however, therefore the container with which you're putting against your stomach is sealed, shekeirin varm flash. If you look at the bottom there, bakbukam, a hot water bottle, shari, then it would be okay. So what the Mechaber is talking about is, if you take a pot of warm water and you put that, it's open, then the concern is it will spill and you violated this of rechitza. But if it's sealed, then it should be okay. But according to Tosfos, the problem over here is not a rechitza problem, but it's a refuah problem, that you're doing it because you've got a stomach ache, and therefore it comes under the general issa of refuah, which is based on shchikas hamonim. You might come to crushed, flowers and vegetables and spices and things like that. Gam b'zeh also, even this would be also, and therefore, in extenuating circumstances, you are allowed to make it. So, can you use a hot water bottle on Shabbos? Take a look at 16. So it depends. According to the Ran and Rashi, the reason is rechitza, and therefore, if it's sealed, it should be no problem. According to Tosfos, the problem is refuah. And so concludes the Mishnah Berurah, tzarech god yesh lahakel. If there's a real tzarech, you've got a real bad stomachache, then, or you really want it for some reason, it's really cold, then you'd be allowed to take it. Says the footnote 16. Now we're talking about a situation where you're just feeling a little bit unwell, you've got a stomachache or something like that. If your whole guf is feeling weak, then we'll get to refuah. That's the next sif, or two simonim time. Mr. will get to that. But when you're in the category of a cholek b'chol gufay, for example, you need to be in bed, or your whole body's feeling weak, then you would be allowed to, because that's mutter in terms of hilchos refuah. That's something which you'd be allowed to do. Omnom. Now, next paragraph. Here comes the important one. Bizmanenu nowadays, shegam briim mishtamshim bakbuk cham kadei lechames es hamita. Even healthy people take a hot water bottle. They take it to warm the bed. Bizman hakar k'sheu saga. Of course, the water bottle is shut, and in the cold, in the winter, they want to take a hot water bottle to warm up the bed. Gam k'sheu chash b'bina. Even if he's got a stomachache, kiven she'ein nikar oisa kein refuah. It's not clear that he's doing it for refuah. V'chein kos b'shal shuvas alevi, b'shal shuvas aletzion, etc. So nowadays we are allowed to take a hot water bottle on Shabbos, but it's like all refuah, and therefore you shouldn't say that I've got a stomachache and therefore I want to take a hot water bottle. But just say it's cold and I like taking a hot water bottle. I remember as a kid, I used to regularly make my mother a hot water bottle on Shabbos or even during the week, and you seal it properly. So that was, even though she was fine, she just liked the hot water bottle. So that would be okay, and it's not caught. So again, just to summarize, let's just finish off the mission with another summarize. Muta lahachim beged v'uadin lahachim kli b'Shabbos. So too, you can warm up a vessel on Shabbos to muta after the firish atayis anal. Because again, it's not clear that it's Lishon Refuah. So again, a hot water bottle on Shabbos. The issue here is the Mechaber says, you can't put a pot with water on your stomach on Shabbos. Why not? So Rashi and the Ran say because you might spill it and therefore it'll violate the issue of rechitza. Tosfos says it's Mishum Refuah. So what would the nafkamin be? The nafkamin would be if it's sealed. If it's mishum rechitza, then it's sealed, so there's no problem. If it's not, but if it's mishum refuah, then it doesn't make a difference if it's sealed or not. Says the Mishnah Berurah, b'makom tzerech we are mekel, but the footnote says that nowadays, since healthy people gam briyim mishtamshim b'bakbucham, therefore it would be okay. But just like any other refuah on Shabbos, like for example, you've got a sore throat and you want to have a whisker, you've got a cold. So when you have your whiskey, don't blow it and say, I'm doing this because I've got a headache or I've got a sore throat. You shouldn't say that. But just say, I'm having a whiskey because I like a whiskey or Kavod Shabbos. Yeah, what we do for Kavod Shabbos, right? So a hot water bottle would be okay. Interestingly, what about an electric blanket? I don't know, this is a bit old-fashioned, but some people would have like a device which would warm up the blanket. Are you allowed to have, obviously it was put on before Shabbos, can you use that on Shabbos? Does it violate this? So if you look at footnote number 18, he deals with it. A whole electric blanket. It's not considered refuah, because also healthy people have this, and therefore also Chaylim would be able to use it. You've got to be careful not to turn up the dial or turn down the dial or whatever. And he quotes from Shlomo Zalman as well. So hot water bottles and hot electric blankets and things like that would be allowed on Shabbos. Just careful not to say I'm doing it mishum refuah, because other people, even healthy people, would use these things if it was cold. I suppose if it's in the heat of the summer, then your heter has gone a bit, because unless you would normally have it during the summer, I don't know. I would imagine people only use hot water bottles in the winter. No, okay, maybe some people do. Maybe some people do.
On the stomach,
yeah,
it can be cold water as well.
Yeah, that just releases.
If there's scared because
of a rechitza. Yeah. The original takonas were only of one. Yeah, so the rechitza, originally the cold was not part of the gezerah, which we'll come to. That's okay. Yeah, okay. So right, Peseda. That's probably a good place to stop. Okay, all right, Peseda. So okay.